Hello, my name is Hannah Sloan, and I'm the Teen Services Coordinator here at the Poplar Creek Public Library. And I'm coming at you from our studio, 1405, down in the lower level of our library. And today we're going to be doing a wonderful program about cross-stitching. Some of us may not know how to do cross-stitching, and some of us do. So we're going to go ahead and create a little fox. Now I've got all the craft supplies prepared ahead of time, ready for you to pick up at the library. If you're a teenager, you can come to the library and pick one of these up the week before the program. So hopefully you have one of these at home. This should have been picked up here, and it should include all of these things here that you see before you. The hoop, a needle, the wonderful material we're going to be working with, the selection of thread that you're going to need for this project, as well as the instructions for making the fox. So, to begin with, when you're doing cross-stitching, you want to read all of the instructions first. So you have 3 pieces of paper with all of the instructions on them. So please read all of these before you begin, but if you would like to follow along with me, you can go ahead and do that. That's perfectly fine. First off, what we're going to do is we're going to take our material and we're going to put it in the hoop. Now you can't just randomly throw it in there. That's not how that works. With cross-stitching, you have to find the center because you're going to be working from the center out with your design. So what I do is I fold the material in half, and then I fold it again in half. And I see where that center point is, and I stick my needle in that little point there, or get as close to it as I possibly can. So when I go in to do the beginning part of this, I will know exactly where the middle part is. And you can see that right there is the dot in the center. Now you'll see the funky lines I've already made on here by putting it through the hoop. I've already done this so that I could show you that you're going to end up ironing all of these out. We're not going to do the ironing part today, but if you get to the end of this video, you'll understand how you can do that, because I will go over that at the end. But with your needle in the middle of your material, you're going to put the hoop on with the needle in the direct center. Okay, you may need to loosen your hoop a little bit. Here we go. There we go. To get right in the center. Now, don't worry about if it's directly going to be hung up this way because you have all of these rough edges here. Normally, people hang these up on the wall. What we're going to do is, at the end of this, we will be able to cut all this off and glue it down and make it pretty. But for our purposes right now, we're just working on the cross-stitching. Now, you can see that it's a little off-kilter, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that a little bit by shifting the material in the hoop, just a little bit, so it's more towards the center. Okay, there we go. Nope, yep, it shifted. You gotta be very careful. There we go. That looks like center to me, right? Center, center. So then we're gonna tighten it up. There we go. All right, so that's my center point. That's where I'm going to start with my design. Okay. So we have all of these wonderful colors of thread, and I know they look a lot of browns, but that's because it's a fox and foxes are brown. But your instructions will tell you exactly what I just showed you for putting the material in the hoop there. Then you have this next part. The thread, each piece of thread has multiple strands on it. So when you look at one strand of thread, you're going to see that there's a lot of strands actually in there. So when we talk a strand, we're only talking one tiny little piece of this, not the whole thing. So you can see this thing comes apart, and we've got little pieces of thread in there, yeah? So when we ask for 2 pieces of thread, we only want 2 pieces of thread. We don't want the whole thing, and we don't want a lot of that kind of stuff. But when you're doing this, you're going to cut it in half. So I'm going to pull these out of here, break this apart, pull that out, we go. When we work with this, we're only going to do about half of a thread, half the length of this thread, because this is going to get knotted really easy being this long. So I'm going to cut it in half. Now, you can pick up these scissors anywhere if you want to, or you can just use regular scissors. That's perfectly fine. You just can have those at home. But we only want about that length right there. That's a little bit over a foot, okay? Not too big. And we only want 2 strands, I believe, is what we're going to start with, but we're going to double check our directions too. Okay, so that should explain the threads, okay? But please feel free to read this. We're going to follow our chart. Now, you'll see on here, we have this wonderful little diagram and a key legend. This tells you the number, which should be labeled on your thing as the number of the thread. So this one right here that we picked up is the light one, the light brown color, and that one, like the light tan color, I guess, it's called 6945. So that's this one right here. All right, that's what we want. And when we do this, we want 2 pieces of thread, and all of the ones that have the little bitty boxes like this, that's the ones that we're going to do. So when you look at your little fox pattern, there's a lot of the little bitty boxes that have little dots all the way through them. So that's what we're going to do. But when we start this on our material, we need to know that middle part on here so we know where to start. So I've put a little tiny X in here right under his glasses so you can see where the center part of our picture is going to be. That's where we're going to start with this. So our starting point is there. We will do all of his head and then all of his body and then part of his tail. Okay, so we will have all of this color done with those little dots. But we will follow the legend and the key to keep track of where we are. This tells you the order you're supposed to do everything in. Now, it may be that you want to hold off on doing the rest of the light color in the tail before, like after you do this color. So you might do all of this part and then do the peach for the body, the rest of the body, the shading color of the body. And then you can go ahead and get into the tail. And when you get into the tail, that's when you can pick up on the light peach there. We'll get all into this, but I wanted to show you on the diagram how we're going to do this. The ones on the right side over here, these are actually for back stitching. This is where we're going to write in things like fox and the glasses in there and the outlining of everything. Okay, so that's where that's going to happen. Down here, we've got a couple of different ones going on. Looks like the brown, we're going to have a couple different things going on here. So we're going to have to get into that when we get to there. And it looks like it has to do with its nose, I would think, right? We are looking for, this is a little black dot. So there's the little black dots. That's where the nose is going to go. The line that is outlined like that, that looks like it's around his nose. So that explains how we're going to do the nose there. This one that looks like a kind of little W there, looks like that's going to be white. So all of the white is up here in the tail. Now, your material that you have in your bag is white. You're still going to have to need to do that. I'm sorry. It just will come out better looking if you do it that way. Okay, now down here on the bottom part, it looks like that these are combo colors. Okay, so anywhere that there's this little starburst, looks like it's in his ears, this is going to be a combination of 1 string of the peach and 1 string of the terracotta to go ahead and make that. So these are going to be 1 strand of each color to make the center part of its ears. Okay? All right, so now that we know what we're doing, we need 2 strands of the light peach. So we're going to take 2 strands of the light peach out of here and make the rest of it come off of there. Come on. Doing this with gloves kind of doesn't want to work with me, so bear with me for a minute. I don't want to make a knot, because if I make a knot, then I'm going to have issues. But I can pull 2 strands out separately and then put them back together. That'll be fine. Or, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to set this off to the side, and I'm going to bring this one back in here, and I've got 2 strands of the light peach here, and I'm going to use a needle threader since I'm using gloves right now to do this, I'm going to stick the needle threader in, put the thread in here, and then pull it right back through. All right. Voila. Okay. Now, I've never had much luck at doing the stitches the way that they are telling us to do it in the instructions. So if you feel that you can, feel free to follow that. I always make a knot in my material and go that way, or in my thread and then go that way, because if I tried to do it this way, it would come apart on me because I'm not good at making knots. And especially since I'm wearing gloves, I can't really do that very well with the way they are wanting me to do it. So I'm just going to make regular knots in this that I can do in gloves without causing too much drama. But you can feel free to follow the exact instructions on how to do that on there. Okay, there's a way to do it where you can do it that way with the following through. Here we go. Okay, so I've got a big enough knot that it shouldn't go through the hole. And I'm going to leave a little bit of excess thread coming down so it doesn't come out over here. Okay? So, now, I know where my center part is because I made it a little bit bigger on the hole here. That's my center, right there. So, I don't want to go in from the top. I want to come in from the bottom. So I'm going to find my center again. There we go. There's my center. And then I'm going to make the X, but I need to know which side to make the X on. If you look at the material closely, you can see that on the material there's a whole bunch of little holes that are pretty visible. And if you poked around those holes, you would have a little box on each of those 4 holes. 4 holes, 4 holes, 4 holes, all the way up, all the way around, every which way. The entire material is that way. So we're going to make an X over those things, over those boxes, but we need to know what our diagram says. So our light material, our light color here, our light peach, it looks like we need to do 3 boxes to the left from left and down, and then looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes to the right. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to do 3 to the left and 8 to the right. So we are going to come in here and we are going to go, where's our box? First box to the left. We're going to cross it down diagonally. And then we're going to come back up, and then we're not going to go ahead and make the X right away. Since we know we're doing 3 boxes over, we're going to do all 3 diagonals going over to the other side, and then we'll come back and do the other way. So that way we have an entire row. Oops, and my thread came out because I didn't leave enough to go with. So I'm going to use that needle threader again. Again, because of gloves. This does happen. It's not that hard to put it back in. There we go. So, we've got 1, 2. So now we should have 3 little X's to the left side and the bottom of our center point. So, how many of these did we say we needed to have on the other side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the right. So we're going to go 8 over from there. So we're going to go back up the centerpiece. Eight. Okay, now that we have 8 diagonals going across, if I can get the needle in, there we go. We have 8 diagonals going across. We still need to finish those off by going back across them to finish off the X's. So we're going to go back in here and do the rest of the part of the X's, coming in from the other side, doing the diagonals from the other side. Now remember, you do not want to go back over the ones that you did before. So we're only doing the 8 that we needed to do. We're not going to go back over the first 3 that we did. We're just going back to that center part where we started. So we have 8 on one side of our bottom part and 3 on the other side. So that should follow the pattern. If you look on here, 3 to the left, right underneath of his glasses, 8 to the right. Now we need to go down and we need to go up. So we have to decide which way we're going to go first to do the bulk of what we have to do. So if we work up, we can do all of his top part of his head, and then we can go ahead and finish that off and then come back down and then do the bottom part of his head and then go into the body from there. Yes, you can cross over. See how the nose is kind of in the way of everything? We can cross over in the back side of everything. When you are doing your cross stitch, you'll have X's on the front, but in the back, it's going to look like little lines, little dashes. Okay, just straight up and down lines. Okay? We don't need to worry about the back. The back can have excess stuff back there, and it's perfectly fine because nobody's going to see it because you can't see through the whole thing once the pattern is all done. Okay? All right, so we've got what we've got on here for that part. Let's go working up first. So I don't get that on me. We need to go up from where we were. So I'm going to come in here and go back up the center hole. There it is, the center part of it. My needle is in the very center of the thing again. And now I know I'm right at where his eye should be, underneath of where his eye should be here. So it looks like on this pattern, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, okay? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the right again. So we're going to go one extra one over here, but then we're going to come back over this way and end right with this line over here. Okay? So let's go ahead and do 4 to the left. 1 diagonal. All right. So now we have 1 extra on this side than we did on the first row. That should tell you right here, there's our first row underneath of the line, right? And there's our first row above the line. Okay? So we have below the line and above the line. Now we need to remember that we've already done the one below and now the one above. And if we look on here, it lines up perfectly here. And then over here, there's 1 off. So we have everything right there. But it looks like on this side above the line we just did, we will have to stay with this new start point over here. But on this side, it looks like it might go over 1. So now we're going to be off kilter on this side. So we just got to remember to do that on the next line. And we still have plenty of thread to start another line. So we're going to keep going. All right, so we know we're in our center, but we don't want to go up the same hole that we just came through. So there we are. So what I did is, since I just came through the hole that I needed to start with to do a bottom up stitch, I'm going to start 1 line above it and come down and do my diagonals downways first. So we need to go even with this side. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, 4 to the left, and it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to the right. Okay, so let's start doing this side. 1. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do a couple more on this side and move on from there. So I'm going to find that center hole, and since I'm running out of thread, I'm only going to do a couple. Now see, I've bunched it up. That happens too. It just means I got to pull that back through so I can fix it on my needle. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to come back in here and we're just going to go ahead and keep going. It's okay to mess up a little because it's all fixable with cross stitch. You can just take it out and do it again. All right, now I've got 2 through there. I'm going to do 1 more, and then we're going to go back and do the rest of this line later with another piece of thread. So let's do 1 more diagonal and then come back. And here's our last one for 9. So we'll have 9 diagonals here, and then we'll tie this off, and we'll come back and do the other way with a new set of string, because we're coming to the end of this string where we can tie it off back here without problem. So let's tie this one off. Put the needle down. Tie knot into this. And get it as close to the material as you possibly can. Okay? Because we don't want this the little excess to be coming out. Okay? So it's nice and clean. So that's the back. That's the front. We still have to finish these diagonals, so we need 2 more pieces of thread. 2 pieces of thread, same color, and we're going to finish off this line by doing the rest of our diagonals that we needed to do. So we're going to do our diagonals going back the other way. So 1, there's our 9. Oh, looks like it made a knot in the back. This happens sometimes too. You just have to pull until it comes out the other side, so we're good. There we go. All right, so we're even on this side from our last line and 1 over. So that should match up with what our diagram says here for that line. So for this line we have, looks like the next line up is going to be even with the left side as well, yes. And it looks like this one will be even with the right side. So we will be from the middle, 4 to the left, and I believe 8 to the right, if I'm right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to the right. So 4 to the left and 9 to the right. So we go up from our center spot again. So 4 to the left with the diagonals, so it's even. We're going to cross them to make our X's. The proper hole. There we go. You see how my thread keeps curling up? That's just because it curls when it untwirls from the mess that is this. So if you hold it up, it should get rid of some of that twirl if you just let the needle and gravity work with you. All right. 2. 3. 4. All right. So we've got our 4 to the left. Now we need to go over to the right. All right, so you should have 4 complete rows of the fox's face. All right, and you can see that with the glasses are over top of the bottom stitches that we're doing right now. So we're not going to be worried too much about the eyes, which we'll do later when we get down here, or the glasses. We're just going to go ahead and do all of it all the way up, because you can see the little boxes behind in the image that need to be this same color. Okay, all right, so we should have 4 lines above and 1 line under. 4 lines above and 1 line under. So we know exactly where we are. We can even fold this or mark a line through it, or however you would like to do that, to give us an idea of where we are with the image. So we know we've got the 1 line under, and 1, 2, 3, 4. We said 4 or 5. I can't remember now. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines above and 1 line under. So we're 4 lines above. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are at the bottom part of his left, or the one we're looking at, my left here, of the glasses. That's where we're at. So it looks like the next line up, we're going to get part of his ear in there on the left. So we have to do an extra one on the left. And it looks like on this other side, we're catching even. So we're just doing 5 on the left and our normal on the right. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Since this is going to be a very long project to go ahead and do this, I can't go ahead and very well do the entire recording for you on here. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get all of this major X's done and then come back at you and we can do all of the the back stitching together later. The back stitching is where it says fox and the glasses and the outlining. I will try to do some of it already ahead of time, but I will show you how we're doing it on each different level so you can see how to do those kind of things. Okay, so instead of doing all of that fast forwarding, that's going to go through probably hours of tape, I'm just going to come back with that. Okay, so we'll see you soon. Okay, so in these pictures, you will see that we are finished doing all of the boxes in the head of the fox and the body of the fox and all of the tail of the fox. So you have all of those X's done. I've already gone ahead and made the outlining done on the fox and the letters of FOX above the top. You can do this too. It's not that hard. I'm going to show you how to do the back stitch here. And we're going to follow the instructions that you have in your instruction sheets and just do the back stitch very easily. When you read the instructions, it tells you to always go back into the same hole as the previous stitch so that your stitches look all connected. So you can see that I've already done that on this fox. I've got the needle up where I'm going to go ahead and start with his glasses. We're going to walk you through how to do the back stitch with the glasses, and then we should be done with all of our cross stitching. So after we do that, we will make it all pretty so you can hang it on the wall. So for the glasses, I have a blue string that you can see. The blue looks like there is 4 strands of blue. So I have 4 strands of blue here. And I've already put a knot in the string, and now we're going to do the glasses. So I'm going to start below his eye down here. I don't know if you can see this. There's his eye right there. I'm going to start right here and go through this. Now to do the back stitch, I'm going to come through, and I've got this coming out right underneath of his eye here. So we got to go over 1, 2, and go into that hole there. And you always want to go into the same holes. You never want to go ahead and make your own. So we're following our X's with that. So I'm covering 2 lines there. Okay, 2 X's. I've gone ahead and I've drawn a line basically out of blue between the X's above and the X's below. All right, and now, since I've already just come through this one, or gone through that one, I now have to go ahead and do the next one up and come back this way to go in through the hole that I just came out of. So with this, I did 2 lines over. This one looks like it is going to be diagonal up 1 to the next thing. So I've got to find where that diagonal will be from there. Looks like it's this right here. Come out that one, and then go back into the hole that I just came out of. I don't want any of my end pieces popping through, so I've got to be very careful on that. So see how the back side here has these little things sticking up? I can trim those out so that they will not go into my next stitch. Okay? Get rid of all of the back stuff but don't cut your knots. All right? We don't want any of that stuff coming through our stitches. Okay. So none of that stuff will come through my stitch. So we should be okay there. But then I'm going to take this, going back through, and come right back to that stitch that I had already made before and go through the same hole so it all lines up. All right. So there's part of that. So now that I've done that, I have to go ahead and do this part. So I'm going to go back through the last stitch I made, go back through the top part, and I'm going to go up from there. So to go up from there, I need to go up 2, it looks like. So 2 X's up from there is 1, 2, there. Right? Yes. Sorry, I'm double checking. Having to get close to my face to do that. So there's that. Now it goes over diagonally 1. So from my last hole that I went on, this is the one I just came out of. I can't go up that hole because if I do that, I will undo the stitch I just did. So I have to go up to the diagonal that I'm coming down on and go back into that hole. Welcome to backstitching. All right, so there's the first part of the glasses going on. All right, we're going to do the same thing for all the rest of the glasses, and then after that gets done, we get to go ahead and make it pretty for everything. So hopefully you have your irons ready. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick, and then we will come back to this, and you'll get to see how to finish it. All right? All right. So here you go. Here is your completed fox with glasses, the word fox, all the outlining. Everything has been done, but we still have these rough edges. Okay, and that doesn't look right. So what we're going to do is we're going to iron it. On your instructions, you will see a thing that says finishing. This tells you basically what I'm going to show you next. So I'm going to set this off to the side. We're going to take our fox out of the hoop. Okay? Once we get the fox out of the hoop, come on, hoop, we can see that it's already popping up, and we don't want it to keep popping up like that, right? So you're going to need some craft glue, some scissors, some sort of material like a towel or something so that you don't hurt the fox and everything it's on, and we don't want burn marks on the material that we're going to go ahead and put on a wall. So we're going to lay this over top of it. All right, just some sort of something over top of it, and then you're going to get your iron. All right, now I've got my iron set to 3, and when I have my iron set to 3, I'm just going to go ahead and nicely iron this. I'm just using a scrap material here that we had down in the studio. And I'm just going to iron this out, trying to get some of that out of there. It's not working. So I'm going to make it a little bit hotter, not too hot, okay, because we don't want it burning, like I said. Something, there it goes. You can hear the steam coming off this thing now. Whew, lots of steam. Here's hoping that will help iron it out a little bit. There we go. Okay, turn you down. All right, so we've ironed this out. So all of those ridges are gone, right? But we can still perfectly see our fox. But we can line it up better now inside of our hoop. And we're going to cut off all of those raw edges that we don't need. So we're going to lay this back down in here. Get him exactly where we want him, yeah, in the middle of it. So if we did do it a little off center when we were putting it in there, that's okay. We can fix it at the end. There's plenty of excess around. Okay, so we know exactly where we're going back in, and then we're going to cut off these edges, and we're going to glue the fabric to the hoop, okay? So we're going to pull it through so it's nice and tight before we start doing anything. And we're going to make it very nice and tight, nice and tight. Come on, hoop, work with me. Gloves and these things do not want to work right, so bear with me here. There we go, nice and tight, all right? That's where I want him. I can adjust it a little bit in there, get all of the the pushy out. We want to make sure it's nice and tight, no issues. And what I do is I give it a little bit of an edge so that the edge here pops through a little bit. That way I know that it's going to look pretty. And then I cut off all of the excess edge. So I don't need the excess edge. And I cut it kind of close because I'm going to glue all of this down, but I'm going to make sure that the material is glued to the hoop. If you want, you can glue it down here, but if you glue it down here, you might have some glue seeping through. I make sure that the material glues to the hoop itself. I don't want it to pop through. You can give it a nice little bit bigger edge on there to glue down. I just don't like to have a lot of excess because if I have a lot of excess, I tend to go ahead and have problems. But I do at the top because the top, I can glue that down better there. So you just need craft glue of some sort, your choice. What we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to put some glue down all along the edge. And you're going to get gluey no matter what you do. But my glue is working. It's tacky glue. It's fine. I glue it to the hoop. So I get glue on the hoop and I get it on the material itself, right there on the inside inner edge. All right. And then I fold down. And I try to keep it pressured on there, exactly where I want it. And I let that dry like that. And I try to put as much pressure as I can on that for a little while. Usually I'll set a book on top of it or something that I know I can't hurt. And it'll be perfectly fine. And it will attach. And then you have a perfectly little fox to hang on your wall. Thank you for joining me for learning how to cross stitch. And I hope to see you at one of our other programs. Thank you. Bye.